Hey everyone, Rarity Dash here, and it's time for another reaction request. If you have a video they would like me to react to, check the description below. There's a link that'll take you to a Google document with all of the relevant information. So today we're going to be looking at a couple more videos from Flandrew. We're kind of completing this saga we've been on of looking at all the Harry Potter video games with these last two videos, comparing every version of the Deathly Hallows games. And I'll be doing both part 1 and part 2 in this video. Because obviously, since it was split for the movies, that means we had the game split as well, I guess. Because, of course, that's how they do it. Gotta have a game for the film release. And I'm excited for these just because I feel like the last book and last movies, I suppose, they're definitely... I feel like they're the most geared towards, like, a video game. Like a traditional adventure game, because like those stories are like it's an adventure story, a lot of time spent on the road, going places, completing objectives. It's very gamic in its layout, so I feel like this story, more than just about any of the other ones, will translate well to a video game. Though that said, we've also kind of progressed in time quite a bit, and we've had a lot of different ideas along the way for how to do these games, so who knows if they get it right. I mean, it feels like it should be a layup here, but whether these AAA developers actually put the pieces together in a way that they should, that remains to be seen. We'll have to find out soon enough. Let's get this started and see what they did with it. Here we go.
If you remember using your wand as a pistol, covering behind pillars, and throwing potion grenades, then you grew up playing Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, but which one? Because there were 3 completely different versions released across 6 platforms, and in this video we're going to compare each of them. The Deathly Hallows, the final installment in the series. It was a break from the formula. The trio had left Hogwarts, they were hiding from Death Eaters, destroying Horcruxes, and doing a ton of camping. And Electronic Arts saw this as an opportunity to change up the tie-in game formula one last time and pivot the game towards a more action-based gameplay style. How did they do? Well, let's start things off with the flagship version released for the PlayStation 3, 360, and PC. So the game begins with this cutscene of Voldemort planning to kill Harry, and the first level is Harry and the Order of the Phoenix escaping Privet Drive.
Makes sense.
And yes, you can shoot Hagrid, but he doesn't seem to mind. I must say, I do appreciate the developers going to the effort of recreating the QE2 bridge and tunnel. As someone who's been stuck there many times, I can say they did a really good job. Take that, motorists! For some reason, you can actually hear the characters shouting at each other even when you pause the game.
Don't worry, Harry.
Oh, that's kind of an oversight.
Harry's wand has an incredible ability to fire spells at impossible angles. And just look at Harry's face. After 7 straight years of fighting the Dark Lord, he just doesn't really care anymore. Voldemort then arrives and joins the chase. Damn it, Hagrid, you're in the way. Harry then gets shot down and plummets straight into the burrow. But luckily, he wakes up just in time for the wedding. Alright, better go mingle with the guests. Oh, it's that Potter child. Just pretend you don't see him, Doris. He'll go away. Let's see what Hermione has to say.
Hey, Hermione.
Let's find Mr. Lovegood.
Hey, Hermione.
Let's find Mr. Lovegood.
Alright then. How about you, Ron? Oh, come on, mate. I just want to talk. Is this because I spent the last 3 games chucking objects at you?
Fair enough.
So this lady's here, and then we've got the exact same character model 6 feet away. And then there she is again, another 6 feet away. Wait, I remember the Death Eaters attacking this wedding. Maybe this is their disguise. Flipendo! And speaking of which... So yeah, this game is infamous for being essentially a third-person shooter. We've got the cover mechanics that have been lifted straight from Gears of War and GTA 4.
I mean, that's not a bad idea.
Act like guns. Look, they even have a weapon wheel. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the smartest AI. Excuse me. Hello? So after the wedding, we get this level where the trio have to sneak around the streets of London. Okay, let's check out some of the Muggle conversations.
I went over there the other day. It was really, really busy. I fancy pizza. How about you? I've seen a picture of it. I've never seen anyone do it myself.
Seems like London's mostly made up of this one guy. Look, there he is walking. There he is again. And there he is again, only this time wearing a slightly different
I'm
jacket.
sensing a bit of
In an
laziness
attempt
here.
to break up the third
Limited
person
character
shooter sections,
models.
the developers added the sneaking levels, which you have to do under the invisibility cloak in first-person view, which means you can't actually see the people around the corner and you keep bumping into them. So, in the last game, the developers spent a lot of time making Harry's face look just like the movie. And they clearly gave up this time around because now he looks like my local kebab shop owner. After a brief battle with some Death Eaters, the trio apparate to Grimmauld Place. Ah, so many memories. Come on. Come on. Oh. Unfortunately, this is another first-person section which has you running around this big dark house looking for clues. Hermione and Ron then leave to figure out a way to sneak into the Ministry, which means Harry's just going to stay here, right? After all, he's like the world's most wanted wizard. Nah, of course not, don't be silly. It's time for Harry to do some filler missions. Let's go rescue some random muggles. Oh wow, look, it's our friend, the lady from the wedding. At least one of them.
Thanks from all of us.
Oh geez, lady, I've just risked my life to save you. You could at least try to lip-sync properly. So, carrying on with the Grand Theft Auto 4 themes, this level seems to take place at some kind of an abandoned factory. Yeah,
I think it's
this
kind of
is
cool
some
they added
filler,
filler,
right?
actually.
Look, for some reason, Harry just decides to get himself stuck in
Give
the
him
middle
extra
of a
things to
cave
do.
filled with dragons. How the f*** did I get myself here? I know, I'll use the
Why not?
grenade potion as a distraction. Oh shit. So the filler missions are then followed by some more sneaking. Oh wow, this lady really is a witch. Look at the way she just walks through that guy. Okay, look, I'll give this game props. A lot of these levels are really faithful to the movie. And the developers really wanted you to take your time and appreciate that because they'll have you slowly sneaking around them. I mean, it's either that or getting into a firefight around a generic power plant. And to be fair, this power plant does technically make an appearance in the movie for 2 shots. And this to me is one of the main problems with the game. A lot of the Harry Potter games have struggled to fill in the bits in between the movie's plot. And the Deathly Hallows being split into 2 movies,
that's
first part
good
was
point.
especially thin on story. So the game has to overcompensate by inserting filler missions in between. After all, half the movie is the trio just camping. So you'll end up with
It really would have been a better game if they were
a
just
bit more
allowed
story,
to adapt
more
the
filler,
book.
all the way until the end when you finally take on the bad guys at Malfoy's Manor. So, you don't actually have to do anything in this final boss fight, just stand there, behind the pillar, long enough to trigger the cutscene. And that's it, the trio teleports out of there, Dobby dies, credits. As far as the different ports, the PC version allows for keyboard and mouse control, and just like the last couple of games, there is a Wii version. It's a bit of a graphical downgrade, and of course the shooting and controls have been mapped onto the Wiimote and Nunchuck. I mean, they're alright, but other than that, it's the same game. There's no PlayStation 2 version this time around. I guess these generic witch ladies were just too much for the old console to process. Okay, let's move on to the handhelds. It's slim pickings this time around because they gave up on the PSP version and just focused on the Nintendo DS.
Sounds
on the plus
about right.
side, it means this version was built from the ground up for the DS. And it shows there's none of this recycling of screenshots from the console version as pre-rendered backgrounds that you got in the other games. What we get instead kind of looks like a PlayStation 1 game, which is ironic because it brings the series full circle. So this one starts just like the console version, you know, with Voldemort doing circles in front of you. But this version actually covers a bit more plot from the movie. For example, you get to see Mrs. Weasley and the conversation with the Minister of Magic. Look, you even get to see him lose his shit. You go too far! And the trio actually attend the wedding instead of just seeing it from the outside. This game is similar to the Force Unleashed for the DS. All the movements and actions are done via the stylus on the touchscreen, while the D-pad and face buttons bring up the potions and spell menus. The potion making minigame is back from the Half-Blood Prince. These developers also went out of their way to animate the cutscenes instead of just doing the old face and dialogue combo that we're so used to with handheld ports. You also get some nice abilities as you progress through the game, like slowing down time and the decoy dementors. This version skips a lot of the filler early on and goes straight to the Ministry of Magic. As for the sneaking sections, they're still there, but you don't fail the level if you get caught. Instead, you just have to take on the enemies. Oh no, Ron's injured. I don't think he's gonna make it. Let's put him out of his misery. So, most of this game consists of the trio going through different levels, blasting things in their way, and traversing obstacles using an ever-increasing group of spells and potions. You get a few odd moments every now and then. I'm not sure I remember Harry fighting zombies at Godric's Hollow. Oh, look at that. That's definitely a PlayStation 1 level transformation. Oh no, the snake is very slowly throwing bars of chocolate at me. And here's a crazy gameplay mechanic. The final boss fight of this version actually involves you having to, do something instead of just hiding behind a pillar. You know what, overall, I actually had more fun playing this game than the console version. And finally, we have the mobile games. Just like the last two movie tie-ins, these are Java games, and there's a bunch of different versions depending on your phone spec, but all of them center around Harry walking around levels, picking up items, and casting spells at spiders. The low-end version starts midway through the story during the trio's camping adventures. Oh no, a Death Eater! Take that! Okay, I think he's dead. Oh no, he just walked off the edge of the screen. Also, Harry does a pretty good moonwalk in this one.
Nice.
The mid-tier version has slightly better graphics and it starts much earlier in the story. Although good luck trying to draw this Reparo circle using the phone's directional pad. Harry can also moonwalk away from the spiders in this one while they attack his friends. And then we get the high-end version, which has even better graphics and supports touchscreen phones. And yes, Harry can still moonwalk in this one. And so, there we have it, every version of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. I'm really struggling to find anything positive about the flagship version of this game. Everyone makes fun of the third-person shooter sections, but this game is also filled with these first-person exploration levels, which are even worse. Yes, the shooter sections are repetitive, but the first-person parts are just benign. The Nintendo DS game actually saves the Deathly Hallows Part 1 for me. This is unironically the better version. I mean, it's not the greatest DS game ever made, it's just a solid adventure game, but after years of lazy handheld ports, it was just really nice to see them finally make a bit of an effort. And so, only one game remains. Will the Deathly Hallows Part 2 redeem the series and give it the send-off it deserves? Or will this be just another subpar tie-in game? Well, find out next time. As for this game, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did you ever get around to playing it? And if you did, what did you think? Is this the worst game in the series? As always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow me on Twitter. See you next time.
Yeah, I don't think doing it as a third-person shooter is a bad idea, but I guess it was repetitive. And I could see that, like, if there's a lot of those segments, and they're really padding it, yeah. Anyway, what'd they do with Part 2? I guess there is more material for Part 2. So,
If you remember sniping Death Eaters from a distance, fighting giants as Professor McGonagall, and planting explosives as Seamus Finnegan, then you got playing
lots of playable characters, that's cool.
Part 2. But which one?
I mean, I guess
because there were
obviously just playable for very small
segments.
segments.
6 platforms, and in this video
still.
we're going to compare each of them. And so we reach the final installment of the series. A decade of tie-in games across 3 console generations comes to an end with the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, Part 1 was a pretty big disappointment. With its repetitive shooter gameplay, boring sneaking levels, and an overabundance of filler quests, Part 1 is seen by many as the low point of the series. So, will the sequel redeem the franchise and give the series the send-off it deserves, or will this be another subpar tie-in game? Well, we're about to find out. But before we start, please make sure to stick around to the end because I'm going to need your help to rank all of these Harry Potter games. Okay, back to the Deathly Hallows. As always, we begin with the flagship version released for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC. We open with a cutscene of Wizard Hitler grave robbing his old school teacher. You know, typical kids game stuff. We then cut to Diagon Alley where we see some familiar faces. No, not the trio, I'm talking about these character models they kept using from the first game. Geez, I know the Wizard community is small, but talk about mixing the bloodlines. Our heroes then end up in the mines of Moria. Come on, Hermione, don't you remember? Speak friend to enter. So remember last time how I joked that they made Harry look middle-aged? Well, it's even worse in this game.
Yeah,
They gave him a
not
dad bod. This is the oldest 17-year-old I've ever seen. Also, in the previous games, Ron and Hermione just stood there and waited for you to move, like good, well-behaved NPCs. But this time around, they just bolt ahead for some reason. Maybe Ron just doesn't want to take another bench to the head. Oh no, it's the cave police. Minimal wage cave police by the looks of it. So yes, this game is very much a follow-up to Part 1, a third-person shooter with cover mechanics similar to Gears of War and GTA 4. However, the shooting mechanics have been refined. The weapon wheel is gone, with the spells now being mapped directly onto the face buttons. The cover mechanics are a bit more intuitive and Harry just generally moves better. The spells themselves are a bit more fun to use than last time, but don't get me wrong, they're still very much just different types of guns. We've got the pistol, the machine gun, the shotgun, the homing missile, and my favorite, the sniper rifle. You know, I never thought I'd be sniping Gringotts bank guards in the balls in a Harry Potter game. This level pretty much acts as a tutorial and ends with the trio taking on the dragon.
That poor thing. I'm sure it's more frightened than anything else.
Bullshit! Okay, next up, Hogsmeade. Hermione, little help. I kind of forgot how to open gates. Thanks. The enemies apparate away after you've beaten them, I guess to prevent Harry from teabagging them. Oh no, Ron and Hermione are dead! What am I ever gonna do? Oh no, wait, they're alive. So after making their way through hordes of generic Death Eaters, the trio sneak into Hogwarts and confront Headmaster Snape with his 80s metal hairdo. But instead of Snape, we actually end up taking on David Brent's friend from the UK office. Okay, what's next? Wait, hold on, you actually get to play as McGonagall, and she has a shotgun spell? Incredible. So the next level
That is pretty cool.
is Hermione in the Chamber of Secrets. It's kind of a twist on an escort mission. Technically, Ron is the one escorting you, but you've got to protect him from the spiders while he finds the right way to the chamber. This level takes forever to get through, but at least at the end, you get to see the Chamber of Secrets. Wow, what a difference a decade makes. And look, every time they destroy a Horcrux, Voldemort gets a terrible neck cramp. So this level actually ends with a Crash Bandicoot stage. And your reward is having to snog Ron. Yeah, I think I'd rather take the boxes to the head instead. Alright, what's next? What? Seamus? You get to play as Seamus Finnegan, the Yamcha of Harry Potter? That's right,
Wow.
So in this level, Seamus has to go around planting C4 explosives, magical charges around the main bridge. And also you get to play as Neville, who provides cover fire. Okay, so then we get to play as McGonagall again. This time she takes on a giant. This is followed by the trio looking for Ravenclaw's diadem in the Room of Requirements, while occasionally being ambushed by Malfoy. This looks exactly like my nan's loft. We then get this really long level where you've got to make your way through the castle battling Death Eaters. This level is kind of tedious, but at least we're technically back at Hogwarts. They are actually reusing the castle from the 5th and 6th game, but this time they've added a bit of damage. Something to note is that Harry still can't jump. He forgot how to do that after the 3rd year, but he can apparate now. It's a cool mechanic, but I didn't really find it that useful, mainly because you usually just end up teleporting into the middle of a pack of Death Eaters, which is why I mainly used it to retreat when I was low on health. I love the variety of enemies in this game, so you get these huge Death Eaters all decked out in dark wizard stuff. And then there's this guy that just looks like a software developer who death eats on the weekend. Alright, where's that sniper? Damn it, Harry, your hair's in the way. Okay, so we get some plots. Snape gets his redemption, and Harry finds out he's actually a Horcrux. Harry then decides to confront Voldemort in the forest. Okay, so is this entire level just going to be Harry walking into the forest while sad music plays? You know, a reflective moment like when Snake crawled through the microwave in MGS4. Of course not. What game do you think this is? Harry will need to take on an army of Death Eaters who are trying to kill him just to reach Voldemort so then he can kill him. And for some reason, the game starts doing slow motion death animations like in Sniper Elite. Yep, that's the exact reaction I have when I get jinxed in the dick. Ah, Jesus, just look at all this damage. Oh look, they didn't touch the greenhouse at all. Okay, to be fair,
That's nice of
after
them.
you make it past the bridge, the Death Eaters realize what Harry's doing and stand down. And then you do get the sad moment as Harry meets all of his deceased loved ones. Look, it's a touching bit from the movie, but I just wish they let Harry sprint through this section because it kind of drags on. Also, they took away Harry's wand, but forgot to change the animation. You see, they missed a good opportunity here. They should have had a level where Harry and Dumbledore shoot their way out of the platform. Instead, we just go back to the castle. Right, so we're at the final part of the game where you have to take on Voldemort like 20 times. First, you do it in the courtyard, then we get another chase where Harry has to shoot random objects to slow down Voldemort's dark fart cloud. This is followed by the Weasley medley. We've got Ron looking for Nagini, Ginny single-handedly holding off 1,000 Death Eaters, and Mrs. Weasley fighting Bellatrix. Come on, enough of this one bullshit, Molly, just slap her. Back to Harry now, who's spamming Voldemort with every
I like that they
spell
turned that
in the
into
book.
a
And
fight,
then
though.
finally,
That's cool.
we get the beam struggle. I'll be honest, this part is a bit underwhelming. Look, you just have to move it around from side to side. I think they really missed a trick here. They should have implemented the old beam struggle from the Budokai games, where you have to frantically spam the analog sticks. And that's it. There is a really nice part after the credits where Harry dips his face in the pensieve and you get a montage of all the games in the series. So overall, this version is definitely an improvement over part 1. No more invisibility cloak missions, no more random filler tasks, and no more generic London bloke.
I've seen a picture of it, but I've never seen anyone do it myself.
This game still has a few slow levels and the action does get repetitive, but it's nowhere near as bad as Part 1. There is a Wii version and just like Part 1 it's near identical to the flagships apart from a dip in graphics and the shooting controls being mapped onto the Wiimote. Alright, let's move on to the handhelds. Well, there's only one, it's the Nintendo DS game. And just like the console version, this one starts with Voldemort grave robbing. And straight away you can tell the game's received a bump in graphics compared to the last one. It probably helps that this one was released at the very tail end of the console's life cycle. In fact, the 3DS was already out when this game was released. The gameplay is very similar to Part 1, but there is a greater emphasis on the puzzles. It kind of reminds me of the Nintendo DS Zelda games. Each level is like a dungeon, which you navigate by solving puzzles with different spells and taking on enemies. You've got to trace around these shapes to perform spells, which is a nice nod back to the first PC game. But my favorite thing about this game is all the wacky cutscenes. Like this one of Bellatrix getting absolutely pancaked by the chandelier. Also, who remembers Ron and Hermione being attacked by the Master Hand from Smash Bros? And for some reason, Harry is dressed just like Fred from the Scooby-Doo movie. I do like this part at the end where everyone's celebrating after the battle, and then there's Malfoy like, yeah, sorry I tried to kill you, Potter. So that's the handheld game. All in all, it's better than Part 1, which itself was a decent game. I've got to say though, the dungeon and puzzle structure did get a bit repetitive for me towards the end. And finally, we move on to the mobile version. Similar to Part 1, this game consists of Harry going from level to level, shooting spells at spiders and Death Eaters. And this isn't a glorified minigame like some of the older mobile versions. There are a total of 8 levels, and they pretty much cover the entire movie. Fun fact, this is the only version that actually has a platform 9 3/4 level after Harry dies. And just like the last 3 games, the mobile version does have different versions depending on your phone's spec. And so, there you have it, every version of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. I was glad to see the flagship games were an improvement over the first part. Yes, it's still just an average third-person shooter with wands, but I really like the inclusion of these random characters like McGonagall and Seamus and Mrs. Weasley, and they did a decent job making the game look like the movie. The Nintendo DS game was also a pretty good Zelda clone, which kind of brings things full circle as the early games had a big Zelda influence. Overall, these games probably weren't the high point the fans were hoping the series would go out on, but they're not the worst games in the series. Which leads me to a question. What is the worst game in the franchise? And more importantly, what's the best Harry Potter game? In this series, I've compared a total of 25 different Harry Potter games, so I think it's only right that we rank all of them. And this is where I need your help. So I've started a poll, link in the description, where you can vote for your favorite Harry Potter game. And once everyone's had a chance to vote, I'm going to do a video ranking all of the games, from best to worst, based on your votes. That way we can find out
I'm still the person watching all these videos having never played
I've
any of them.
I've decided to split it into two categories, consoles and handhelds. I just think it'll be a bit fairer that way. So this first poll is going to be just for the console games. Once we rank those, we can move on to the handhelds. So please get voting, but also make sure to leave a comment and let me know which is your favorite and least favorite Harry Potter game and why. I'll be featuring some of the comments in the rankings videos. As always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow me on Twitter. See you next time.
Alright, well that was cool. I do feel like, they kind of, it does feel like they kind of missed a little bit, because, the last story, it really should have translated very well to a game. I think what really kind of led to the problem, though, is the fact that they split it for the movie. Like, I feel like you could get a much better game if you were just tasked to create a game based on that entire book without having to pay attention to what the movie did and how the movie split it. But there's supposed to be tie-ins to the movies, so that's just how it goes, I guess. Even so, I mean, that second, the part 2 game, I think that looked pretty good. Like, I don't know if I would really love it that much. I don't really play a lot of third-person shooters, but I think it's not a bad idea, really. And they included a lot of moments from the climax, made them playable, so that's kind of cool. Lots of characters, lots of different things. And I think there were probably some good ideas in there. And the DS game, that also looked good, both the DS games. Not all bad. And overall, I've enjoyed this. I think Flandrew has made some pretty good videos for this. I don't know if I'll be asked to react to any other ones, but if it's just this series for the film games, then that's fine. Because I've had fun with these. Anyway, not much else to say. Hope you guys enjoyed the reaction. Let me know if you did. And see you in the next one.